The Knight's power allows him to summon 3 guards in a set cycle, and they are the Carnifex, the Assassin, and the Jailer. Now, understanding the differences between these guards is key for survivors to play against and for killers to play as the Knight. So in this video, we will be ranking the Knight's guards in every category where they have differences. Kicking gens, breaking pallets, patrol duration, detection range, hunt duration, hunt distance, and we also have a miscellaneous category. Along the way, we're going to be scoring the guards in every category with a maximum of 3 points, and they'll score less the less powerful or impactful a guard is in that category. Then, at the end of this journey, we will have established each guard's strengths and weaknesses, and have determined which guard is the best. Now, let's dive in, starting with kicking generators. Now, ordering a guard to damage a generator causes them to do an animation, followed by a 5% regression of the generator's current progress, which is actually twice as strong as kicking it yourself. Carnifex damages the gen after 2 seconds, while Assassin and Jailer take 6 seconds. Now, you might think that the faster you get to do the regression, the better, but that's actually not the case. You see, while a guard is in the breaking animation, survivors can't interact with the generator as if it were blocked by the entity, and this is a really powerful effect that can buy you enough time to approach the generator and regain control. If you include the time gained from the 5% regression on top of the animation, Assassin and Jailer buys you 10.5 seconds of time, while Carnifex only buys you 6.5 seconds. So, for scoring, we're going to give 3 points to Assassin and Jailer for being able to hold the gens very effectively, and 2 points to Carnifex because, even though he's weaker than the other two, stopping a gen for 6.5 seconds is still a really powerful effect. Next up, we have breaking pallets, and the animations are the exact same as breaking generators, 2 seconds for Carnifex and 6 seconds for Assassin and Jailer, but in this case, the faster the order is completed, the better. In fact, Carnifex breaks the pallet so fast that you can actually walk right through it in the middle of his animation during a chase, but for Assassin and Jailer, you have to stop and wait until they break the pallet. Therefore, we're going to give Carnifex 3 points for being able to immediately remove a pallet, and Assassin and Jailer, we're going to give them 1 point because they take too much time to be useful. I should also note that breakable walls can be broken by guards in the exact same way as pallets, so they're also included in this category. Alright, so that's it for the guard orders. Let's move on to patrolling. So first up, we have patrol duration. Carnifex and Assassin patrol for 12 seconds, while Jailer patrols for 24. Again, you might think that longer patrol times are better, but in practice that's not the case. If a survivor sees a patrolling guard, they can easily avoid detection. So basically, if you don't detect a survivor in like the first 5 seconds, you're probably not going to detect them ever. So the majority of the patrol time is just a period where you cannot use your power. Now, I should point out that you can stop these patrols early by hitting your guard and recovering your power, but this requires you to be next to your guard. It means that you have to hit them and recover from the hit, and by the time you have your next guard ready to be summoned, the survivor will have gotten away. So Carnifex and Assassin, we'll give them 2 points because 12 seconds is still too long to be short enough to earn a full 3. But Jailer, we're going to give 0 points because not having your power for 24 seconds is a huge downside. Next up is detection range. Now, Carnifex and Assassin have a detection range of 8 meters, while Jailer has a radius of 14. And if you want an in-depth explanation of how this detection works, I have like a 5-minute video that goes into all the details, but for these purposes, you just need to know that survivors can outrun the 8-meter range easily. Therefore, Carnifex and Assassin, we're going to give 1 point each for being essentially useless if survivors have a straight path, and Jailer, we're going to give 3 points because it's very hard for survivors to avoid that detection. So now we've covered the patrolling differences, and next we have the guard's ability to chase survivors. So we'll start with the hunt duration. Now, Carnifex chases survivors for 24 seconds, while Assassin and Jailer hunt for 12. And generally, a longer hunt duration is good. It gives you more time to cut off the survivors and ensure a hit. They also guarantee more time that the survivor being hunted can't work on objectives. However, longer chases also rob you of getting your power back sooner, and in situations where your guard hunts the wrong survivor, or a hunted survivor leads the guard away from the area that you want to be in, longer hunt duration is a downside. And unlike a patrol path, during a hunt, you can't hit your guard to dismiss them. So while in most cases long hunt duration is beneficial, there are instances where it works against you. So because Carnifex has the longest hunts, but because of the times where you wish you could recall him, we're only going to give him 2 points instead of the full 3 for hunt duration. On the other hand, 12 seconds is a little too short for Assassin and Jailer to be able to do much, so we're going to give them 1 point each. The next difference is that the guards all have different chasing speeds, but we're going to convert this into a different unit to be distance closed on the survivor over the course of the hunt, because each guard has a different combination of running speed and hunt time, which means that they all cover different distances. Carnifex runs at 4.1 meters per second, which is 102.5% of survivor running speed, and he does that for 24 seconds. Jailer runs at the same speed for 12 seconds, and Assassin runs at 4.4 meters per second, or 110%, for 12 seconds. So, if we use these values to calculate the distance each guard gains on the survivor over the course of the chase, we can see that Carnifex gains 2.4 meters, Assassin gains 4.8, and Jailer gains 1.2. Basically, Carnifex is twice as good at hunting survivors as Jailer, and Assassin is twice as good as Carnifex, and 4 times better than Jailer. So this gives us a very easy ranking of 3 points to Assassin for the most distance, 2 points to Carnifex, and 1 point to Jailer for their abilities to be able to catch up and injure survivors. And now we have our final category, and this is Miscellaneous, where we just evaluate all the other differences that don't neatly fall into the previous categories. First up, we have Carnifex, who has a different standard materialization time. Now, when a guard detects a survivor, they drop a flag where the hunt begins. Really good survivors will be able to plan out their path to pick up the standard, and that ends the hunt immediately. It gives the survivor a speed boost and grants them endurance for a few seconds. For Assassin and Jailer, it takes 5 seconds before the standard can be picked up, but a little known fact is that Carnifex takes 10 seconds. So on very rare occasions, even great survivors go to pick up the Carnifex's standard, only to get hit because they didn't expect it to take so long to materialize. For these very rare free hits, we'll throw Carnifex a bonus point. Next, we have Assassin, who has the unique ability to cause deep wounds when he injures a survivor. This means that the survivor is going to have to spend 12 seconds mending before being able to work on objectives, which buys you some extra time. Deep wounds also negates endurance, which counters popular survivor perks like Dead Hard and Off the Record. Now, in the past, when every survivor ran Dead Hard, I would award this 3 points. But since Dead Hard was nerfed and it's not nearly as common, the deep wounds isn't as impactful, so I'll only give Assassin 2 points for being able to inflict deep wounds. And our final difference is Jailer, who walks faster on his patrol path than the other two. Carnifex and Assassin patrol at 3.4 meters per second, or 85% of survivor run speed, while Jailer patrols at 4.1 meters, or 102.5%. But just like we talked about with patrol duration, survivors aren't going to get caught by long patrols, so the fact that Jailer can walk faster during it doesn't have any real impact, so I'm going to give him 0 points for this effect. Okay, so with that, we have fully analyzed every difference between the 3 guards, and we can see that they all have strengths and weaknesses that cover a wide range of categories. But now let's see what happens when we tally up the scores. In last place, we have Jailer with 9 points. And next up, we have a tie. Carnifex and Assassin have the same score of 13 points. Now, admittedly, this scoring system is a little arbitrary. You could argue that some scores should be different. Maybe Carnifex should get 1 point for gen kicking, or Assassin shouldn't get 2 points for deep wounds, or maybe the 3-point system itself is flawed to begin with. So, if you have different criteria, you can of course make your own conclusions, but what really matters about this is that you understand the information and reasoning behind each of these scores. The main takeaway that I want to share is that Carnifex and Assassin are both very useful guards, but Jailer is terrible. The common belief is that Jailer is good at camping and 3-genning, but I disagree. The Jailer can be ignored by survivors when it comes to unhooking, because as soon as a hooked survivor is touched, the hunt will end. And remember that while hunting, it's essentially impossible for a Jailer to catch up to a running survivor, so there's no risk in getting the save if Jailer is guarding a hooked survivor. Even if the Knight is face camping, the Jailer's not a factor for the same reasons. So the Knight is pretty much no stronger than any other M1 killer that would be camping. As for 3-genning, gens regress at 1/4 of a charge per second, meaning that if you guard a gen with Jailer to just let it regress, you will lose 6.6 seconds of gen time in exchange for having no power for 24 seconds. Remember that kicking a gen with Carnifex buys you the same amount of time on a gen, and that only takes 2 seconds for him to do that. Kicking with the Jailer buys you 10.5 seconds, so it's more efficient to do that than leave him there for 24 seconds anyway. Therefore, Jailer is no better at defending 3 gens than the Assassin. The accepted role of Jailer is to defend objectives, but as we have broken down throughout this video, he is as strong as, and sometimes even worse, than the Carnifex and Assassin at what Jailer is supposed to excel at. As for the question of who's better between Carnifex and Assassin, it really depends on loadout, playstyle, and personal preference. The thing that makes Carnifex so strong is his ability to break pallets, which can be absolutely game-changing. But he doesn't really offer much outside of that, whereas Assassin is much better at controlling gens and downing survivors. So that means that the Carnifex is better in situations depending on the map and game length. Carnifex is stronger on maps that have a lot of pallets, or especially strong pallets like the game, but weaker on maps that have fewer pallets or a lot of vault locations like Leary's or Haddonfield. Also, the longer a match goes on, the fewer pallets remain unbroken, so the less useful Carnifex becomes. If there are no more pallets to break, Assassin has more value because he hunts and kicks gens better than the Carnifex. In fact, Assassin is pretty consistent regardless of the map or game state, so you can think of Carnifex as having higher highs and lower lows, while Assassin is constantly in the middle. So on average, the 2 guards are equal in value, but they're useful in different ways. Personally, I prefer consistency in my gameplay, so I tend to favor the Assassin slightly more, but if you're a person who wants a really strong early game, Carnifex is going to work out better for you. So in summary, how should you play around each of the guards? Well, Carnifex is great at taking out pallets. It's basically his only strength, but it's an extremely powerful one. So you want to have him ready whenever you start chasing a survivor. He can also be used to harass survivors for a long chase time, but be aware that probably won't be the best use of your power. Assassin is the best at hitting survivors without help, so you can use him to injure a survivor, forcing them to mend while you chase another survivor, or you could even coordinate with the Assassin to get a double hit and instantly down a survivor. He's also very good at holding generators. He's the best guard to send because kicking or chasing are both good options with him. And again, the Jailer is terrible. My honest advice is to get rid of him as quickly as possible. Kick a generator, break a pallet, destroy a wall. Sometimes I even summon Jailer to immediately hit him and just move on to Carnifex, who's going to be better in almost every situation. If there was an add-on to remove Jailer from the summon rotation, I honestly think it would be one of Knight's best add-ons. So those are my thoughts about the strengths and weaknesses of each guard. Do you disagree with any of my reasoning? Would you assign the points and categories differently? Is there anyone out there who actually thinks Jailer is the best? But that's all for now. Until next time, I wish you all the best.